r/AskReddit by Reddify. What conspiracy theory do you not buy, but enjoy anyway? Cosmo magazine intentionally gives terrible ex advice. They tell their female readers things that will ensure they never get a second date, and so are perpetually single, and thus continue reading Cosmo for dating advice. Also, dating sites try to set you up with people with whom it won't last. So you'll feel like you got somewhere and keep paying for the subscription. I love this because it could imply that somebody out there has a foolproof formula for creating successful, lasting matches, and that they're intentionally subverting it to create hitty matches. It's a good setup for a road trip comedy where a group of friends set out to find the guy with the relationship formula, or one lonely guy and his quest to reverse engineer the hitty formula. I don't know. Of course, it would be much more likely, assuming this was true, that it was just intentional laziness on their part. Seeking out people with poor chemistry seems like so much more work than just throwing two profiles together and baselessly claiming there's some sort of compatibility. The whole Finland isn't really there, and that most of the country is secretly a sea that Japan and other nations fish without regulations. I thought it was pretty interesting. Can confirm. Source: Finland. If you are Finland, does it mean you don't exist? The Berenstein/Berenstain Bears parallel universe theory. I want to believe this is about the only conspiracy that really ducks with me. I remember it being Berenstein. It really isn't that complex. It's because Berenstein sounds like a real name. Berenstain just sounds ducking stupid. The conspiracy that Finland is not a real country and even the landmass of Finland does not even exist. There's even a subreddit dedicated to it, r/Finland conspiracy. It's actually surprisingly well thought out and semi-believable. Here's the explanation from the subreddit. The Finland conspiracy states that Finland is not a real country. Not only is it not a real country, but there is actually no landmass there at all. And the space between Sweden and Russia is actually empty ocean. Now I realize that this notion seems ridiculous, but that is why the conspiracy works. And why people are afraid to speak out against the existence of Finland. So I would ask you to approach the evidence I put forward here with an open mind. Finland was first created sometime during the Cold War between Russia and the West. It was also around this time that environmentalism and the idea of preserving our planet was really taking off. And it is due to both of those things that two of the main players in the Finland conspiracy came to work closely with each other: Russia and Japan. Japan-Soviet relations had always been shaky at best, but also incredibly secretive. Even as early as 1925, Japan and the Soviet Union had secret deals with each other regarding fishing rights between the two countries, with the Soviet Union giving up much of its fishing rights to Japan with seemingly no explanation as to why. These secretive treaties and alliances continued right up until just before the fall of the Soviet Union. Gorbachev made trips to Japan months before the fall of the Soviet Union, stating the entire time how the relations between them were improving, even when Soviet relations with the rest of the world were worsening. In fact, the entire past 100 years of Japanese-Russian relations bring up many unanswered questions. Why at the height of WW2? Were the battles between these two countries minimal despite being on opposing sides? Why did Japan sign a peace treaty with Russia in 1941, just months before their allies, Germany, went to war with Russia? Why were relations between Japan and Russia always good throughout the Cold War, despite the major geopolitical differences between the countries and close geographical positions that you think would cause tensions? The answer is simple. They shared a common secret, a common asset that worked in both of their favors. And that asset was Finland. It's unclear when Finland was first thought up. Some say it was during the Cold War, and others say it was as far back as the 1920s. But the necessity of Finland is quite simple. Japan can fish in the region of ocean between Sweden and Russia without worry for environmental repercussions. After all, nobody's going to expect fishing regulations to be broken in a place where everyone thinks there's landmass, will they? And in return Russia get a percentage of the fish to distribute amongst their populace. It's a simple case of fishing the Finnish Sea, transporting it across Russia. That was the real reason for the construction of the Trans-Siberian Railway, by the way. and then shipping it from the eastern Russian coast to Japan under the disguise of Nokia products. This is why Nokia is the largest Finnish company. And it is also why Japan is the largest importer of Nokia products. Despite the fact that very few people own Nokia phones in the country. Genius. But wouldn't that mean they had to get all sorts of people, countries, governments and organizations involved to keep this under wraps? Like NASA, every single astronaut from every country, Google, any company that makes GPS devices, any country that has satellites, etc. On top of all that, not one single rogue rich person showed that Finland is actually fake just for fun. Round Earth. Really guys, come on now. Try standing on a ball. Pretty hard to move around, right? Yet these yahoos think that we've built all of civilization on a ball floating through space. That makes no sense. The people on the side and bottom would fall off. You don't need to be a scientist to see that. It's an experiment you can do in the backyard. If there was gravity in space, all the planets would fall down. Flat Earth. Really guys, come on now. Both Flat Earth and Hollow Earth are equally ridiculous and amusing to me. And also lizard people. Of course. A relative had posted a Facebook comment along the lines of "It's so blatantly exist and offensive that people are calling Hillary Clinton a lizard person because she's an older woman. How do you break it someone that people are actually implying she is a lizard in a human suit?" Bigfoot, because it's fun to imagine such a creature roaming around in the woods behind the Henderson's house. Whenever I go hiking I always bring a camera. Statistically, 100% of Bigfoot attacks happen to people without a camera. If you bring a camera with high definition and steady/anti-shake software, then you're not going to see Bigfoot. Stevie Wonder isn't blind. Wait until he finds out he's black. You mean I'm going to stay this color forever? That we never actually went to the moon. Kubrick was an amazing filmmaker, but faking the moon landing? And no one has actually come out about it? But what do I know? He was such a perfectionist he made them film on location. Kubrick was the first man on the moon. Ancient aliens. I view the ancient aliens theories to just be the infantilization of early cultures. We don't know how ancient cultures did the things they did, so aliens had to have done it for them. I mean, modern humans make stories and art of aliens. Why couldn't our ancestors? They didn't just make art based on what they saw. Michael Jordan was forced into an early retirement because of his gambling. Tangentially related to his dad being murdered. Combining the two is optional, but gives you bonus conspiracy points you can turn in later for more tinfoil. Edit. This absolutely could be true. I don't personally believe it, but it has just enough plausibility that I enjoy talking about it. I always liked this one. His stint into baseball was because he was quietly suspended from basketball due to gambling on games. The NBA kept it quiet to avoid the negative publicity the MLB had with Pete Rose. In return for keeping it quiet, they only suspended him for 2 years instead of banning him outright. I like the one where the NBA had a hand in getting the MLB players to strike to give Jordan a chance to come back to the NBA. My cousin keeps telling me and my brother minotaurs are real. So that's our siblings sign off to each other now. Stay chill and remember, Methodic and minotaurs are real. Can confirm. I have so many questions. The Nelson Mandela effect is pretty hilarious, I think. Along with the whole Berenstein/Stein thing. I love that people will accept that there is an alternate dimension before they will accept they remembered something wrong. The Mandela effect is a real thing. It's simply where multiple people have the same false memories of an event. The reasons for this effect are where the conspiracy theories start. People's memories are pliable and experiences are relative. That's why eyewitness testimony is sketchy at best and corroboration is typically needed in court cases. People hate to come to that realization, because it means that their memories, and therefore their sense of self, is compromised. The idea that things didn't happen the way they think they did scares people a bit. Tinder knows your soulmate, and it's intentionally keeping you from them. For those few dozen folks who haven't used Tinder even just to see what all the fuss is about, it's a mobile dating application that works by showing users a gallery of potential prospects. Whenever two people independently indicate their interest in one another, they're invited to start an awkward conversation. You can think of it like virtual speed dating, in that the general idea is to pick out the people to whom you're attracted, all while hoping that they do the same after seeing you. The program is free, but non-paying users are limited in the number of likes that they can dole out. If you spend enough time on Tinder, though, you'll start to notice an interesting trend. When you first install the application, you'll discover a diverse rainbow of people on your screen. Folks of all appearances and from all walks of life will be presented to you, and only few of them will be obvious robots. You'll see scores of women standing in front of Machu Picchu, crowds of men looking constipated as they not so subtly flex, and hundreds of both genders whose interests include live music, adventures, and perhaps most descriptively fun. If you're not completely desperate for companionship, you'll wind up dismissing far more people than you'll want to contact, right up until the moment when, all of a sudden, everyone starts to seem appealing. That sudden shift is where the true genius of Tinder's business model lies. My guess is that as you swipe through the first several dozen potential parameters, the application slowly gathers data about your preferred type. Then, once some hidden algorithm has gotten the handle on the sort of person who starts your lawnmower, so to speak, it shows you a group of users that you're likely to find appealing. Your activity is accounted for, too, so that you're finally presented with someone who could very well be your soulmate at the exact moment when you run out of likes. Not wanting to miss out on true love, or maybe just mind-blowing X, you pay for the premium version. Now, none of this is necessarily true, but it wouldn't be too terribly difficult to pull off. Even if Tinder isn't employing this kind of system, then it's almost guaranteed that other mobile applications are doing something remarkably similar. For instance, marketing companies can tell exactly how long someone has watched an online advertisement, and can even target similar commercials at the times when they'll be most effective. They know what you want to see, even before you do, simply by analyzing your previous activity. We all give away an absolutely astounding amount of personal information, and we've gotten to the point where we don't even notice the patterns being employed against us. All it takes is a little bit of entertainment or efficiency, and we are hooked. Simply because convenience is king. Or in the case of Tinder, because X sells. TL. Doctor, a Tinder-based conspiracy theory about mobile marketing technology. For me it goes back and forth on the attractiveness. It's very noticeable for me. There will be time when I literally cannot put the phone down, because every single girl presented to me is attractive as duck. And then there are times when I'm swiping left all the time. But I don't think it's a conspiracy, just bad coding. Maybe it has something to do with how horny you are at the time too? I made up my own, that I like to entertain. You know how it's popular to make fun of vaping, and people who vape as either douchebags or neckbeards? My theory is that big tobacco pays people to go online and promote this kind of slander to discourage people from vaping and keep them addicted to cigarettes. You can't beat them with badly written research articles endorsed by tobacco companies, so you hit them where it hurts. In the memes. This does sound like something that tobacco companies would do. They've admitted to intentionally making ads in the past that targeted teenagers and such, because the younger they started smoking the more likely they'd get hooked. Paul McCartney being dead. What's funny is that the fake McCartney has been Paul McCartney longer than the real McCartney. Dead cosmonaut theory. The conspiracy theory that the USSR launched cosmonauts into space before Yuri Gagarin and covered up their deaths during the mission. Edit. Many people apparently believe this one. But here's my question. Why leave their deaths covered up? Russia eventually disclosed the N-1 rocket, the Soyuz 1 accident, the Soyuz 11 accident, the March 3, 1980 Vostok 2 meters fueling accident that killed 48 workers on the ground, and many more. What's the point in keeping the lost cosmonauts covered up now? It's a fun conspiracy to talk about, but it's probably not true enough. You may not buy it, but that's one of the most plausible conspiracy theories out The only one I'd almost buy is the one where the cosmonaut ended up getting stranded and held captive by the Chinese, but survived a few days before Gagarin's flight. Because that definitely would be a huge embarrassment to the USSR. The other ones though, debunked or likely frauds. Imo. The whole Obama is a Muslim plant thing. I love jumping on that shenanigan train for kicks, but come on. He can't be both incompetent and a super spy all at once. I'm with you. All the stuff around Obama is gold. Gay Muslim prostitute. Michelle is a man. The kids aren't really this. Refusal to step down after his term is up. Sharia law. FEMA camps. We are gonna miss this guy. The theorists will adapt. Soon we are gonna hear about how Trump/Hillary is a gay Amish pedophile who orchestrated the Boston Marathon bombing. That chemtrails are slowly building a screen in the sky and false flag events will be projected onto it. Some people just don't get perspective. But I love imagining the secret IMAX scientists cracking this crazy puzzle. They are crystallized hydrogen monoxide. And that's only the ones you can see. Make sure to like and subscribe so we can watch together.